Hello, welcome back to another one of my grading tutorial, and today we will focus on the grade 7.5. As I have mentioned in the past videos that it's easy to grade high grade books such as grade range 9 to 9.8, but once you get down to the 8.0 all the way down to say 5.0, I think that is the toughest range to grade because there's a lot of room for interpretation by the graders, even at CGC, as well as the individual. So it's definitely, grading was never an exact science, but between grade 5.0 to 8.0, in my opinion, is where there is the largest variance in grading range. Okay, but here's the cheat sheet that we will refer to once in a while. It took me a while to shoot this video since the last grading video because it took me a long time to go through my collection to dig out books that fit the 7.5 range. So here's one. Let's examine this book. Okay, as you can see, the bottom edge is slightly weird. It's a tiny crease right here, probably about 1/4 inch, not a big deal. The corner have a tiny crease. The edge is quite nice, but here is where the majority of the problem is. There's a crease, as you can see. It go all the way from this end to this end. It's about 1.5 inch long. Okay, it's barely visible as far as in this area, but trust me, it's there. And then for the rest of the book, it's quite nice. If you look at the spine, one or two little ding here and there is not bad. But if you refer to the cheat sheet that I have, if you have a 2-inch crease, you're gonna get a 7.0 max. So for this book, when you look at this book, there's some minor wears down here, but not bad. And then the back is very good. Okay, the back has nothing wrong with it. A sharp looking back cover, but due to the fact that we have a crease that are about 1.5 inch right here and some minor flaws down here with a really decent spine, I think this would fall into the 7.5 range. Okay. Okay, next you have the Silver Age Spider-Man. A lot of the Silver Age book, even Bronze, sometimes you see the bottom that look like this. This is not a crease or tear, but it's really a production related issues. But even then, even if I count this as a production related, a non-production related flaws, you're looking at maybe 1/2 inch crease right there. And then this corner crease is 1/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch or so. Whereas right there, that's not bad. Okay. And if you look at the rest of this book, the top edge and corner, very good. Now why it is 7.5, let me show you. If you put this book up to the light, you can see that the spine have a good dozen or so ding. Okay, as you can see right there, there's a good amount of spine stress. I would call that amount of wear to be in the light to moderate range. Okay, so when you have light to moderate range, the book can still be in the 8.0 range. but due to the wear that we see here in the corners, and then on the edge here. The back cover of this book is quite decent, as you can see. There are, if I put this up to the light, let's see, sometimes you can see it without putting it up to the light. The wear that you see on the spine on the back cover coincide with all the flaw that you see from the front cover view, so it's not thing that is different. Right there, you can see a tiny corner crease right there. Hard to tell, but it's probably a 1/4 inch. It doesn't break color, okay, but because of the white cover. But as you can see, there's a tiny corner crease right there. But due to this little thumb crease right here, this little corner crease right here, and then the wear right here, and then the light to moderate flaws on the spine, I give this book a 7.5. Okay, but otherwise it's a very, the rest of this book look really good. The right edge and the top edge is flawless. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. Another Silver Age book. There's some minor wears right there, not a big deal. Okay, if you go down the spine, there's a 1 or 2 spine ticks right here. Here's where the biggest problem here. This right here is not quite an inch, not quite. Okay, it's probably like 3/4 of an inch, but that impact right there, slightly rounded corner, not a big deal. There's a 1/4 inch crease right here. That's not, well, it's very visible in this angle. As you can see, it's about a 1/4 inch. Let's put this book to the light. Okay. The spine of this book is quite nice. There's 1, 2, 3 or 4, maybe half a dozen or so spine stress. Now let's take a look at the back cover. Pretty decent. It's free of most any flaws, really, if you take a look at the back cover. Beautiful book. And this book, in my opinion, because of the flaw right here, it can be an 8.0, depend on, on any given day, with the combination of this corner crease here and a very light wear at the spine and the one flaw right here. I'm grading this as 7.5 very conservatively. Okay, it wouldn't shock me or surprise me if I submit this book, but I'm not going to do that. But if you have a book that look like this, CGC might even give it an 8.0. It looked quite nice, as you can see. So it all depends on any given day on what CGC graders think of this flaw right here. Without this flaw right here, this book is a 9.0. Easy 9.0. Even with this 1/4 inch corner crease right here, with the absence of this crease right here, this book is 9.0, 9.2 easy, because the spine and the back cover is so nice. But for now, I give it a 7.5 with a good chance to get an 8.0. Okay. Alright, here's a nice looking Neil Adams cover. Okay, from this angle alone, you can see that there are quite a few dings on the spine. But let's take a closer look. Okay, look like some light creases here. The corner look okay. The edge have a little bend right here, doesn't break color. It's a little rounded corner here, not bad. One of the things that I didn't mention before is there are a big difference between a crease that does not break the color and creases that does break color. So like for example, if you look at this right here, that little bend right here, you know, sure it's a flaw, but it, you know, certainly will not get dinged as hard as something that cause a color break. So let's put this book to the light, because I think this is where the flaw of this book come in. It's more visible. It's look at the spine. Okay, it definitely have what I would consider a good amount of surface wear right there. If you look at this area right here, up at this angle, you can see it. There are some reading crease, thumb crease, whatever you want to call it, right there, right here. Okay, so there's a fair amount of light imperfections. See right here. From direct view you can't really see anything, but at an angle you can see that there are a fair amount of wear, light to moderate. But this cover, as you can see right there, there's another indentation right there by the hand. You can't see it straight on, but at an angle you can see it right here. It's like an inch long, an indent, you know. So the front cover, as you can see, has a fair amount of light indentation to moderate indentation. Okay, and I believe the back covers have the same amount of wears. Let's see. So far so good. Right there is a big, fairly big ding on the spine. You can see it. That's a printer crease that does not impact the grade at all right there. But let's see, there's two printer crease. You can see there's one right here and one right here. But the biggest problem is this fairly long 1 inch plus crease right here. So take into account this big 1 inch long crease right here, and then all the dent and indentation that you see, you know, on the covers. Even though, you know, the edge and corners are pretty decent, this book would be a 7.5 in my opinion. Okay, this is one book that I bought long ago on eBay that was advertised as 9.0, and I could not return it. It bummed me out because when I see the books in hand, it's definitely not a 9.0. Okay, let's take a look. The spine is okay, alright. There's a few dings here and there on the spine, 3 or 4 imperfection on the front covers. This is not bad. This is a very tough book to find in high grades. And the corner, as you can see, it has probably about a little bit more than half an inch, but there's a light crease right there. That's half an inch. And then what knocked this book down hard is right here. You can't really see a crease right here, but you can see there's a barely visible, a very light crease that go across the number 100. Can you see it? There you go. From the top edge in the black area all the way across the 20. That's like a 2 inch or so non-color breaking crease. Okay, so if this was a hard crease that break color and it's like 2-inch long, this book would have been a 7.0. Okay, no doubt in my mind. But because this crease did not break color, but it is there, it is visible. If you hold the book to the light, you can see it. Okay, there you go, see, you can see it. So the impact on the grade on this crease is less than a 2-inch crease that break color. So you can see it right there. And this right here also did not really break color. It's a little bit, but you can see it mostly because of the white. But this wears right here. So take into account this right here. And then this is production related, you know, for square bound book. This right here, but then there's a tiny crease right here also. And then you see, look at that. It does not break color, okay? But this right here is soft. The rest of the book is nice. So as you can see, if you look at this book, given what you see here, what you have here, and then the issue right at this corner, even though, like I said, it does not break color, it's about 1 inch long, light crease here that I'm sure can be pressed out, but that's not the point. The corner's rounded, and then you have like a 1/2 inch crease right here. All of that all together is a 7.5. This is basically just production. It's not, you know, it's not kind of any kind of damage, you know, it's a wrinkle in the paper. But as you can see, this is why I was upset when I got this book. It's definitely not a 9.0, not by a long shot. Okay, let's grab another example. This is probably one of the most common Silver Age high grades out there. This book, you can see it on eBay for cheap. It's one of those books that was printed in such a large amount, and boxes and boxes of this book were found in a warehouse long ago. So don't be paying anything more than $1 for this book. I got this for free. A long time ago, I bought this. I bought a book from an eBay seller, and then he threw in this copy for free. But look at this book; it's quite nice. You have like less than 1/2 inch crease right here. Okay, right there. And then what knocked it down to a 7.5 is right here. You get 1 inch long crease right here. Okay. This is one of the nicer looking 7.5 as far as technical grade. You know, there's a slight bend right here, not a big deal. Same thing with the corner. There's a slight bend right there, but it doesn't break color, doesn't break the fiber. Okay, so the back cover is quite nice. It's just that because of that 1 inch crease right here, and then the 1/2 inch crease right here, it's just technically it's just too much flaws to be anything more than a 7.5, even though the spine is perfect. Okay. Last of the raw book that I have is this one here. Just take a look at this book. From a straight view, you see really decent looking edge corner. Same thing. Okay, look at that. Even the spine, that looked pretty decent, right? You look at this book and you say to yourself, why is it 7.5? It looked like a 9.6 or better. Okay, this is where it comes in. You can see, as you can see, the spine had quite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like roughly 10 pretty large impact on the spine area. You can see it at this angle too. Okay. But even with all of this right here, this book can still be, you know, an 8.5 or 9.0, even with that. And you know, if you put this book under press, it could be even higher as far as 8.5. But let's take a look at the back cover. Okay, look at that. There's a fairly large crease right there, as you can see. It's about 1 inch long. The impact on the spine, of course, also show up on the back cover. So whenever you have big dent on the spine, it's usually on both front and back. And then look at that. See, you see right there in this area right here, there's a whole bunch of little long creases that's like, you know, 1 inch long. So and then you have this tiny tear, 1/8 of an inch, if that, probably less than that, but it's there. So let's see what else. As you can see, there's some indentation on the cover. Beside this crease right here, indentation. There are just a lot of little flaws on the cover. It's hard to see using the video, but it's there, trust me. Especially in this yellow area right there. You can see there's like a very long, over 1 inch long indentation right here. So you see it right there. So the back cover definitely have light to moderate indentation and wear, okay? And then just enough flaw on the spine that I think this book is in the 7.5 range. It could be 8.0 or higher if you know, if we can press out all the indentation and flaws. But as is, you're looking at a 7.5, maybe 8.0 at best. Okay. I did pull out a couple of slabs that I have that are 7.5. I have shown this one before, I think. And if you look at this book through the slab, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 spine ticks that I can see, okay? And then there's a little wear right here at the corner, but the rest of this book is really nice. You know, I can give you a close-up look. Everything else look perfect. Beautiful edge. And then the back cover has like virtually no flaw that I can see. Okay. And I think if you look at this book, I can see at least 8.5, okay? But because of this tape pull right here, I think that's what, you know, it's always hard to gauge how much lower a tape pull can impact the overall book. But as you can see, you know, this book can easily be 8.5, but because of this, it knock it down to 7.5. Okay. Last but not least, in this book, soft corner is hard to grade when you have a book in a slab. Right there, you got 2 soft corner, okay, and the edge is not razor sharp. It's somewhere, but if you look at this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, if you count that little thing there. So you have soft corners and 3 or 4 ding here. So you look at this book, you know, it can be even a 9.0 based on what the front cover look like, okay? The 2 or 3 soft corner and a few dings. that's still allowed in a 9.0 range. So why is it a 7.5? Let me show you right here. You see this right here? There's like an inch long crease with a tiny tear right there. Okay, that's the main culprit of this book at 7.5. It's an inch long crease along with a 1/4 inch or smaller tear. And then you can see right here, this potentially, it's hard to tell, but this potential 1/2 inch tear right there, a puncture right here. It does not go all the way down, but I can see a 1/2 inch tear, an inch long crease right there. So the combination of this tear and this crease is what kept this book at 7.5. Okay, the rest of this book is beautiful. Like I said, the rest of the front looked like a 9.0 easy, but that one area right here, you know, if you look at the cheat sheet I have, a 1/2 inch tear will, you know, knock you to 8.5 max. If the rest of the book was nice, but you know, you're looking at a book here that have another flaw, major flaw with that long crease. So, and that's it. Hopefully the video will give you an idea of what 7.5 can look like. Okay, and thanks for watching. Until next time.